Round the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Sim Racing Collective F4 second season of their Sprint Championship is already upon its penultimate round of the season. Hello and welcome back to the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel. My name is Zach Sweeney. I've got the boss man himself alongside me in the commentary booth to talk you through two loads of racing action this evening. Of course, for those wondering why we're back so soon for the F4 Sprint, you might have joined us yesterday when we headed to Fuji. Of course, we were just talking through last week's round before we head into the final 2 weeks of this fantastic championship. James, coming into today, though, a bit of an interesting circuit to go to for the penultimate round, particularly in Formula 4 cars.
This is not going to be easy. And I'm gonna say that in the loosest term. That middle section from turn 2, Coca-Cola, all the way through, coming out up to Recaro, which is practically the last corner. If they're going to make an overtake, something's going to go wrong. They've got to make sure that they're facilitating the pass between the two of them, because otherwise, it's just not going to work. You know, this circuit just does not lend itself to overtaking that can be completed clean-up times. I've seen it in the Clios, there was a bit here in the MX-5s, we're now here in the F4s. It's going to be difficult. I think the person who's going to be the bravest will be the person that will take the victory.
So a heavy focus on qualifying then potentially, but don't forget that the points, of course, are most importantly scored when we take to the races. So even if there is a poor qualifying, do not give up, because there still could be an opportunity for you. While we are getting ourselves bedded into qualifying, let's take a quick look as to how things rack up in the championship standings, because it is still very much alive. Frank Porte Ruiz, 3 wins so far this season, including one last week at Fuji, sees him just 14 clear of Jamie Nuttall, the Rain Master, as he was so dubbed after his dominant victory in race 2 last week as well, with Kieran Sharp just 1 point behind in that fight for second. The fight amongst the top 5 as well, incredibly close, from the Estonian of Thomas Kahner, ahead of James O'Reilly. Guillaume van Hout as well, just behind, 5 points in it between the Belgian and the driver from the UK, of course, of O'Reilly. David Santa Maria, again, a fantastic result for the Andorran last time out. Viardi Rombouts, Gergely Conchavo and Hayden Miller complete the top 10. Guillaume Hamlin just outside, of course, matched with Hayden Miller, so that's also a battle to keep your eye out for over the next 4 races this season. Bobby Moss for the Nigel Mansell fan club, incredible qualifying results last week and throughout the entire season, of course, not quite got the race pace to back it up, and at the moment 6th, 12th. Tom Davidson from Janus Wenzel, Quinten van Wingerden, who of course we won't name his antics so far this season, an absolute bullet for those that tuned in yesterday. Simon Norton from Grant Miller, Matt Acton, of course, let's hope he's sticking to his photography and has no intention of becoming a full-time sim racer anytime soon. Aaron Fall from Josh Millington, Matt Smith from Jack Southfield, you can of course read the rest, Rhonda, Helmer, Martin, Ellis, the top 26 from Pike, who has joined us on a number of occasions, Christian Camprega, Edward Parfitt, David Barnes, Burks, Hess, Saristo, Huta, Osaka, and of course Rafael Costa, the 36th and final driver to be classified on these standings. And James, you've already touched on it really when it comes to qualifying, because of course it dictates the grid for both race 1 and into race 2. A circuit like this, with only 10 minutes on the clock, you need to be able to maximize each and every single lap that you get.
Yeah, and at the moment, certain people have not maximised it. Porter Ruiz just has and got into second place. This is the thing with this circuit. We can take you on a little bit of a tour of what this circuit looks like. So this is gone round Coca-Cola now. So they're on their way through. You've got the right-hander coming up. This is Shell Corner. Now, this can be used as an overtake, but you are going to be careful. You can see the raised curbs on the inside of Oran Park. You can see them there, and if you bounce up over them, these cars are not going to like it, right? They need all four wheels to be absolutely effective. Over Yokohama Bridge they go, and now on the run through Foster's Dip, keeping it onto the inside, now going right, left, avoiding that car. Hold your brakes! Yeah! Well, there you go. That put really the end to that one. And then we're going, this is the O'Brien aluminium dogleg, as it was known. And I say as it was known because this circuit closed down in 2010 and is now, I'm sure, a beautiful, thriving housing estate in Australia.
Yes, unfortunately for Oran Park, it's a fantastic circuit, to be fair. I've not necessarily had any bad memories from the venue. Definitely a lot of good races to go with it as well, but money makes the world go round, and well, if there's more money in some housing, then there's more money in some housing, I suppose. And with Australia having like 2/3 of it be barren wasteland, I suppose they need to maximise each and every single acre that they can get. But it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it on the sim world, and that is the beautiful thing about sim racing, is that it doesn't need to exist in real life. As long as it exists in our hearts and we've got the memories of it, then we can still have it in the pretend world. Of course, Miller across line to go third at the moment. He's going to be starting another lap. Didn't quite improve on that last one. How detrimental then, of course, for Frank Porte Ruiz, our championship leader, is that slight hindrance on his lap going to be? I mean, right now he's stat P2, but a man of his stature will want more. He'll want to go for pole position. How big of a setback do you think that one small incident is going to be?
Well, he's got a decent lap time on the board, right? He's second at the moment, so he's got a banker lap in, and he got a fast banker lap. So for him, he's got to look at either two things. He either pushes now like an absolute trooper to try and get some more lap time out of that car going into the final 3 minutes, or he just sits back and thinks, okay, let's just go out and see if I can pick up temps, because that's all they're really trying to pick up. Probably not even temps, it's more thousandths at the moment as well. We say this pretty much most times, Zach, as they get into this late area of qualifying, they're not really going for a fast lap as such. They're just going to improve tenth by tenth by tenth, because generally that's all they need. You can see here Porter Ruiz needs a 10th to go forward, which isn't a lot, but it's tough to get on a race circuit.
Yeah, exactly, and it is the difference, because, you know, to the human eye, a 10th of a second, that's how long it takes to blink, or somewhere around there. You know, you blink, it's not very long, is it? But it's the difference between starting first and starting second in this race as of yet. And of course, you're very right. The more you improve, the harder it becomes to improve. You're sort of pushing this boulder uphill, and the further uphill you get, the sort of the steeper the hill is, and it's just getting harder and harder to push that boulder up. That's how it is qualified. However, he has just absolutely smashed that out of the park. He goes 6/100ths of a second clear of his countryman and teammate, of course, of David Santamaria. So just goes to show, don't count him out until the end. He's still actually got time, I think, just about for an extra lap as well.
He can probably get 2 in, to be honest. I think he crossed over well before the 8-minute mark, so he can get another 2 in. If he's going to improve, that would be great. You can see Josh Millington down in 9th at the moment. He's coming through the final corner. He's going to be going over the line. He's got 3 yellows and a green, so fastest sector. Didn't really get anything in that last sector either. Not going to be an improvement. Janos Wenzel in 11th. How is he going to do as he comes over the line? Nothing really doing there for him. Matt Acton is the next one that's got some greens on the board. He's coming through Recaro. He's got to kind of nail this one, be able to get on the power as much as he can. He can open up just a little bit more coming out of that final corner. You know, I can see he was erring on the side of caution to make sure he didn't hit the wall. He goes a faster time for himself, but doesn't improve. He's got to get into them 103s. Kieran Sharp is another man, went on 103.523, done his fastest lap of the race, and now it's all about what Josh Millington's going to be able to do here in 9th place, as he's got a couple of green on the board going into the yellows, and we'll keep an eye on Jamie Nuttall as well.
course, Jamie Nuttall, after that victory, is, oh my goodness me, a spinner going into the final corner. Not entirely sure as to who that is. Hopefully not a huge distraction for Millington as he rounds the final corner for the final time in this qualifying session. He's a very strong contingent in the GT3s, and at the moment, yeah, in the end, it's P9 for him, just 1/1000th off his quickest lap time, which is great consistency and will help him in the race. Jamie Nuttall across the line, of course, 3 victories so far this season, including one last week.
Nice.
Nice lap time, and he can work with that. We spoke about how important track position is. P5, you're up the front, and if anything goes wrong in front, a podium is firmly on the cards in race 1.
Absolutely. I can tell you now that was Will Ellis on the side of the circuit that we went past there. So that's qualifying over for these guys. Great job from everybody that got it. You'll be able to see the times here for the grid.
Well, there they are. Championship leader once again on pole position. A sensational lap for Frank Porte-Ruiz. Sees him ahead of his fellow countryman from Andorra, David Santa Maria. Kieran Sharp, again, consistent at the front. P3 in qualifying alongside Hayden Miller on row 2. Jamie Nuttall racks up the top 5 ahead of James O'Reilly. Vyacheslav Volodya, the Estonian, of course, that we come to know and love amongst the TSRC, ahead of Bobby Moss. Josh Millington, Matt Acton completes the top 10 ahead of Janus Wenzel, and Guillaume Hamling will keep him company on the 6th row. Will Ellis, of course, after a late spin, still ends up in P13 ahead of Simon Norton. Thomas Martin completes the top 15 ahead of Grant Miller, and Christian Camprega, the lonely driver, on the 9th row of the field. James, we're moments away from kick-starting the 4th to last race of the season. What should we expect?
Well, I'm going to take a bit out of shadow in YouTube. I'm predicting carnage, hoping it's not me. I'm hoping they don't, but I'm struggling to see how they're not going to, if that makes any sense.
Hopeful, but not.
I think it's hopeful, but not hopeful, but doubtful.
Hopeful, but not getting your hopes up, I suppose. Optimistic, maybe. But yeah, expect disappointment, and you won't be disappointed, I suppose. But yeah, hopefully they can be on their best behaviour, particularly going into that first braking zone, because there is a kink before you're almost immediately on to the brakes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will find out. Is it going to be carnage? Is it going to be chaos? Are they going to be behaved? Here we go in Oran Park. Frank Porte-Ruiz, a lightning start from pole position. Kieran Sharp trying to pull alongside. Santa Maria going into turn number 1. Of course, it's the outside for both 1 and 2. He's got to be brave on the brakes. Who's going to be the last of them? The 23 machine, of course, of Sharp trying to go the long way around, but not quite enough. He tucks into 3rd place. Miller and Nuttall as well battle it out for P5. Side by side in the background, I think O'Reilly versus Volodya. That's the fight for 6th. First half, 3rd of lap 1 already in the book. So far, so good. As you can see, James O'Reilly very much under pressure as Vyacheslav Volodya tries to find a way past.
Yeah, he's also got Millington tucked up as well, but this is where we said they can go too wide, but it's got to be facilitated. Over the bridge they go now. It's on that run out into Foster's Dip. Let's see how they get on. It is going to be O'Reilly. Volodya is there. Millington's got the inside. Got to be brave on that one if you're going to try and make that work, because I can tell you what, that's not an easy thing to do. But the problem now for Millington is he's just got nowhere to go at this moment in time. He's just got to sit. You're pointing out a tree as well on the right-hand side there. That's completely blind, that dogleg is not even able to be seen. You point at a tree and hope for the best. It's kind of like Road Atlanta going up the hill from turn 1 to 2. You aim it at a tree and then turn it when you feel you need to.
Same with Sheen and Dingledale at Brands Hatch as well. You just sort of point at where you expect the apex to be and hope there's not a car there sometimes. We complete lap 1 and Porte-Ruiz is sort of fermenting himself at the top. Riding on board, as you can see, with Josh Millington. He's sat 8th place, right in behind Vyacheslav Volodya, and well, get used to this. I think the trains, I mean, while slipstream probably not overly important here at Oran Park, the pack racing dynamic certainly is something we need to get used to, because it is just that difficult to pass.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to be full on here, and you can see on the outside there, Josh Millington, he does make it past Volodya in that 7 car. Volodya, however, does come nice and close behind him, so that's going to be an interesting one to see whether or not Volodya can even come right up behind him. That is what Millington has got at the moment. The number 7 TSRC esports machine tucked up there right behind, literally right behind us, going into recovery.
Yeah, thankfully he wasn't any closer as to not warrant a spin, because that final corner is lethal. It's sort of yeah, but it sort of tightens up on the exit, and of course there's a wall there. You've got to be careful not to go into the pit lane as well. It's a very difficult circuit all round as Oran Park, but particularly that final run. Of course, in these Formula 4 machines, they shouldn't have too much difficulty sort of with the grip side of things. It's more going to be the margin for error that's going to be their problem. Say in touring cars, front wheel drive, it's very easy for the car to push on as such, whereas in the Formula 4s, they have the grip, they have the capability to go around each of these corners at good speed. It's more a case of when that small mistake does come, you haven't got any room, any time at all in order to correct it. Matt Acton, of course, did qualify inside the top 10. He's dropped back to P11, and that is why both a good qualifying and a good start are the perfect combination around a circle like this.
Yeah, it's vitally important. There's no other way around it. It's vitally important that you maximise what you've done over these first 3 minutes, over qualifying as well. And now you've just got to try and get away. Millington's not really clearing Volodya as much as he probably would have hoped he could. Bobby Moss is in there from the Nigel Mansell in that red 5 machine, trying to close onto them as well. And this corner, I cannot express how hard it is, right? They normally say going down into turn 1, the kink, then down into Coca-Cola, you've got to try and brake straight. Well, you can't if the corner goes left. Before, you've got to try and get into your braking zone. So it's kind of slow down, get the car, slow down again, because you can't do two things at the same time. In a car that we know, generally, you need to brake in a straight line for. So that sweeper down into Coca-Cola, so tough. And one that a lot of people I've seen get completely wrong. Touch wood at the moment, none of these guys have. I will say one thing though, Will Ellis has had an absolute stinker of an opening 5 minutes and is literally back into the pits again. So unfortunately for Will Ellis, it's not quite going well. Hayden Miller, Kieran Sharp, David Santa Maria at the front.
We head into lap number 5 of this race. Quickest lap time set by Frank Porte Ruiz, who has been putting the practice in, of course, a real-life Formula 4 driver, I believe, in either the French or the Spanish Championship. I mean, he's got his pick of the two, being from Andorra. He's literally got France on one doorstep and Spain on the other one, so take your pick. But definitely calling upon that real-life experience, and I suppose it just goes to show how close this sim is that he's able to jump into the Formula 4 car in iRacing, something that he's not really done before joining a championship like the TSRC, and he's just jumped himself in and just thought, yeah, cool, I'm going to go and win. And this would well be his 4th win of the season. Santa Maria, though, is only 2 seconds back, which Santa Maria can't really do much to attack, but it definitely isn't a big enough gap that Porte Ruiz can feel comfortable as well. Oh my goodness me, Kieran Sharp, here comes Hayden Miller.
Oh, side by side, Miller did get that one through. Jamie Nuttall also got Kieran Sharp as well, but Sharp is there on our left-hand side at the moment, so Kieran doing a great job keeping Nuttall in pace. There is Nuttall's machine there going into the sweeper. Watch out, this is what I mean, you've got to try and brake, then go through there again, brake again, hug the inside line, and now they're still going to be side by side as they're coming into Shell Corner. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one lasts. Nuttall surely can't hang it around the outside, and he's not that time. He's settled back in behind.
Yes, though indeed. Kieran Sharp then still off the podium, albeit able to minimise the damage. Jamie Nuttall giving it a fantastic go. You said you can't race around Oran Park. It definitely wasn't us. These guys showcasing that you firmly can. Enough mutual respect and go a long way. Fantastic stuff showcased with still 9 minutes left to go in this race. This is where it gets really difficult, this final sector, because it's so front end, so downforce orientated, and even in sort of fairly aerodynamically simple cars like the F4 car, you still feel that outwash, you still feel that dirty air, and it can be quite difficult to follow.
Yeah, and Nuttall there, as you saw off the front of his, the camera on his front wing was so close to that wall. He probably got about as close as he possibly could to that wall there to really maximise his exit coming out of Recaro. So he's let the car open up, he's opened up the steering, he's got the power, he's letting the car drift out, not really making any major corrections to try and bring it in because he doesn't need to, because he knows he can keep out the wall. So Nuttall doing a great job there, but Hayden Miller, Kieran Sharp, Jamie Nuttall, O'Reilly's a little bit further back, but this is probably where that 3rd podium place is going to come from. Santa Maria looks comfortable, Porte Ruiz looks comfortable as well, and I think he's going to be out of these 3 for the final podium spot.
I would agree. course, it might not be settled on sort of the on-track action. It might come down to who's the most consistent, who's going to be the one to make the fewest mistakes. Of course, they have got all fixed setups. That means they have got fixed fuel rates as well. They've got enough to finish race 1, not enough to finish race 2. So don't forget that what you're seeing right now, a lack of overtakes maybe in race 1, will translate into fantastic strategical games heading into that second race of the evening. All of this is just practice for them, for some, in fact, to gain data where they can pass, when might be the optimal time to come into the pit lane in race 2. This train is starting to form. It just goes to show that if you are off the pace, it's fairly easy to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. You can, because of the width, right? And when we look at race circuits, you know, you've got Spa, that's quite a wide circuit going down the Camel. Obviously, it tightens up when you go through Raccoon and stuff like that. Watkins Glen, again, quite wide on the straights, kind of tough on certain corners to be able to get through. Brands Hatch is another one that can be really tight on that in section as well as you start going through Sterlings and things. But going down the Brabham Straight, you know, you're relatively okay. But this is a different kettle of fish with how tight this can be. You can go onto the straightaway like now and you've got room for days. But when you come into this sweeper section, it feels almost claustrophobic. It almost feels like it just narrows in on you because you don't have that massive amount of room around the outside to be able to make the moves that you normally could do at other race circuits. And I think that's probably generally what we're trying to see here. And if you're defending like Hayden Miller, defending like a trooper, if he parks that car in the middle, there's nowhere for anybody to go. So that's what he's got to do. Yeah.
As long as he keeps it facing the right way, it doesn't do anything drastic like slam on his brakes mid-corner and catch the driver behind out. He's golden. Of course, the difficulty then comes and the task goes to Kieran Sharp to try and set him up, make him defend when he doesn't need to, put him offline, bait him into a mistake, force him to be looking in his mirrors and force the issue. Make him show his hand, make him play the wrong move and make him maybe go wide or get a bit of a twitch and allow yourself to get a run. That is where the skill as an attacking driver comes into play. And that's where you have to set up moves. But with little time, it's difficult to plan an attack when the laps are coming thick and fast like this, just over a minute in lap time. You don't have that time at fortune, particularly as well when you're being hammered from behind as Kieran Sharp is by Jamie Nuttall. It's so difficult to try and plan an attack.
Yeah, you've just got physically nowhere to go. You know, Nuttall there at the moment is trying to go around the outside of Sharp. He's going to have that inside coming into Shell, which is great for him. He's got to be mean on the brakes, and he is mean. He can open up the steering now. Just move Sharp a little bit. You know, I'm not saying go and push him off, right, because that's not how these guys race. I'm just saying he had the option just to move him out a little bit. He knew there was a little bit more room outside of Kieran Sharp. He could have just opened it up, moved him out a little bit, make sure he cemented that pass, and he did cement it in the end, and a great job from Nuttall as he moves himself up now into fourth. So it is tough, and I thought Sharp was going to go too wide for that dog leg there, and that was just going to be horribly wrong. He's going to try and go out the inside of a go. They're getting a bit frisky, mate.
Oh, definitely. I think it's probably because we are into the final 4 minutes of this race. They know that time is of the essence and maybe a little bit of desperation creeping in. Here comes Kieran Sharp on the counter-attack of Jamie Nuttall. Is he alongside enough going into the kink? Gets given the space. Is he going to be brave enough on the brakes? No, he's not. But Jamie Nuttall, goodness me, he has completely and utterly bottled it way too late brakes going into turn 2. He rejoins the circuit. I think was just able to keep it from being unrecoverable, and that was why. Did you see it? Ever so slightly began braking on the grass, and that was it.
Yeah, ever so slightly on that outside of the grass there, and unfortunately that was what caused Nuttall to go off. That's released Sharp, that's also released Hayden Miller to possibly wrap up the third if he can. O'Reilly, Millington right behind him.
Pressure is on, and that's what I was talking about when it came to this race. Might not be decided by on-track overtakes, but more who finishes first, who's the one to make that first mistake. It's James O'Reilly, another bit of proof of that, nearly in the back of Millington, and then clips his rear right tyre on the exit of the final corner. He did well to hold it, however I don't really think his suspension is going to be liking him too much.
No, and that's the thing, and with the whole progressive damage model, they've got to make sure that they don't bang the same area continuously, right? Because otherwise it's like anything, it breaks. So they've got about 3 minutes. They should be good here, and I'm hoping that they all can get to the end, and Wenzel and Moss having a nice little battle here.
Yeah, they are keeping each other company for P7 in this race. Jonas Wenzel, the German driver, just in behind, of course, as they run their way over the bridge. Nice to see some figure of 8 circuits being used, so albeit even if it's non-existent anymore, that always just adds a little bit of a quirk to a racing circuit, and this one is no exception. It's a fantastic one to lap, as we were obviously speaking to Kieran Sharp before the broadcast. It's one that is great to hot lap, but it's a different story when it comes to the racing. Just under 13 minutes complete, which is probably going to translate into, we might get 3 more, so 2 at the line. It will be very, very close depending on when Porter Ruiz crosses the line. So of course we'll keep you updated and to see when the white flag is being waved. Of course, hopefully Porter Ruiz is going to be able to finish this race as soon as possible for his sake, because 1 extra lap is, well, 1 extra opportunity for things to go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the thing. He's just got to try and hope and pray he gets to the end, right? He's on his way round into Foster's now. He's going to go right, left. Is he going? He's going to get 1 more. He's going to be 1 and 1 more here, Zach. I think he's. Okay, that's not going to help him as he goes through the dog leg. But I'm keeping an eye on that time. I think it is going to be 1 and 1 more.
Yeah, so he'll need. Yeah, I think so. Of course, a 1:03 lap time. In a lap's time, it'll be 14:57. So we'll probably just about manage it. And yeah, the white flag is not being waved. So on to the penultimate lap of the race. This time by then, the Andorran of Porter Ruiz is once again showcasing an exceptional level of skill. By 4 seconds around such a short circuit in such a short amount of time as well. You have to hand it to him. It's been a fantastic race.
Yeah, it has, and he's done a stellar job, right? Let's be real about it. He has absolutely killed it. He's gone out in front. He's done what he needs to do, and absolutely smashed it. So yeah, for him, he's done an incredible job, and well, fair play to him.
Precisely, and it will be another extension in his championship, particularly with Jamie Nuttall down in P10. Kieran Sharp there in 4th, so you know, not too drastic for Sharp, who will, by the way, be taking P2 in the championship after race 1. He rounds the final corner for the penultimate time to start his final tour of Oran Park here for race number 1. What a race it has been. 1 minute and 3 seconds left of this race. All he's got to do is keep it facing the right way to bring home a 4th victory of the season. Yeah,
stellar run, isn't it? When you're on it, you're on it. And at the moment, Porter Ruiz just looks like he's on it. So, fair play. No, Josh. You're going to have to bully him out if you're going to get up the inside into Shell there, buddy. You've got to really be late trying to bully out Sharp. Open it up a little bit. Make him go a little bit wide. Now coming into the next one. I think Millington's going to wrap this up here. Kieran Sharp, final lap. Looks like he's just lost that 4th place.
Millington, I think, was waiting for this final lap. He knew maybe that he was slightly quicker going into that sequence of corners, and then just committed. And that's half the battle, is being able to just go, press the button, and absolutely send it. Here is our race leader, by the way, and championship leader, Frank Porter Ruiz, who has dominated this race from pole position. He rounds the final corner here down under. A bit of a love tap to the barrier, actually. And in fact, going slowly, but it's not enough to stop him. He crosses the line and is victorious for race 1 to extend his championship charge at the front. David Santamaria, his countryman and teammate, makes it a 1-2. Of Hayden Miller, sensational podium for the Phoenix Racing machine in 3rd. Of course, we'll run you through the full extent of the finishing order in just a second. A disastrous race, though, for Jamie Nuttall, and a mistake that was completely his own doing.
Yep, absolutely. But then when I said to you about how hard it is to turn and brake, there you go. Nuttall's just done just that. He showed us how tough it was, and he went on the grass, he braked on the grass, and good night, Vienna. There's nothing he could have done about that one. He just would have been stuck and a sliding passenger. But the results are on your screen.
There we go, 15 minutes of race 1, and it's full points once again for Frank Porter Ruiz, who leads home his Andorran countryman of David Santa Maria. What a result it is for them two. They are on a sensational run of form. Hayden Miller completes the podium ahead of the 2 TSRC esports drivers. Of course, a last lap charge by Josh Millington sees him 4th ahead of Kieran Sharp, who completes the top 5, albeit now moving his way into P2 in the championship. James O'Reilly, the Triple One machine, in P6 ahead of Bobby Moss. A fantastic result inside the top 10. Jonas Wenzel just in behind behind ahead of Vyacheslav Volodya and Jamie Nuttall, who completes the top 10. That is not a race that he's going to want to remember. Matt Acton just outside after qualifying inside will be looking for redemption in race 2 with Simon Norton, Thomas Martin, P12 and 13, the last of those on the lead lap. Kim Hamming from Grant Miller, Will Ellis and Christian Camprega, the DNFs of this race, 13 laps behind and 15 laps respectively, so didn't quite manage to get their way to the full extent of this race. They've transitioned themselves into a 5-minute warm-up. And other circuits, James, you know my opinion on warm-ups when it comes to going out on circuit. Oran Park, though, with it being just a minute lap time, I think you can get away with putting some decent laps in.
Yeah, I think for the likes of Will Ellis and a couple of others, you know, Thomas Martin's out on track as well. Probably the ones that had a rough first race and really need to nail down certain points. Go and use the practice session or the warm-up that you're given. You know, if you're at Spa and it's going to take you 2.5 minutes to go round, then what's the point? You're going to barely finish your flying lap before it clicks over anyway. But as you say, here you can get some laps in, and important for Will Ellis and stuff, because obviously their race 1 wasn't that great. So use it while you can, I guess.
Get out there, make some time, and maybe practice that specific corner that caught you out, or whatever it is. Or again, I can see the benefit in the usual. Just get up, walk around, have a drink, go to the toilet, breathe, open a window, anything. Because it's so easy when you're in the adrenaline to be hot and sweaty and bothered, especially if you're frustrated about a race. Just opening a window, going out, you know, just doing something you enjoy for 3 minutes or whatever, just to regain that productivity, reset your mind, and get back at it so you're stronger for race 2. Because of course, 25 minutes of racing and a pit stop, it's going to take everything you had in race 1 plus extra to be able to compete in race 2, more so around a circuit as difficult as this one.
Yeah, in hindsight, they should get 26 laps in, right? I think, give or take. Well, no, it'll be... No, just 25, I think, isn't it? It's going to be
25.
25, and yeah, very close either way. So I'll be interested to see how they get on with the 25-minute race. It's going to be very fast, very frantic, and I think sometimes the one with the most stamina might actually be the one to survive.
Yeah, exactly. And while it is a sprint championship, you know, this race 2 is a marathon relative to race 1. Even though it is only 25 minutes in length, you still have to be thinking long term, setting yourself up, you know, for that final 5-minute dash to the end. Where do you want to position yourself to be able to best put your foot forward? Because no one wants to settle as a racing driver. They all want to contend for the top. That's the second lap in a row we've seen Will Ellis do that through that particular corner. So hopefully he's going to refine that and learn going into the race, because, well, with more laps, there's more opportunity for things to go wrong and more lap time discrepancies to slow you down and put you further and further off the back of your rivals. Thomas Martin is the only other driver out on track. Everyone else is just sat in pit lane, eagerly waiting, getting to the grid, I think. I just want to get it started, because it's so easy to sort of over-psych yourself as such, James. You know, you overthink it too much, you stress yourself out too much. By the time that it comes to the 5 red lights, you drop it. Sometimes it's easy just to go from race 1, boom, into race 2 straight away, no transition time whatsoever. You are forced to maintain that adrenaline.
Yeah. You're right, 100%, and let's be real, we don't always agree on everything here. So, you know, you are completely right, and I think, for me, I don't know if 5 minutes is too long. Give them 2 minutes to get ready. I think that's probably around about the right amount of time. People get up, stretch your legs, grab a drink, go again, because once you've cooled down, you've got to try and hype yourself back up again. So, and that's not always easy for some drivers, and hopefully these guys will be okay. But yeah, I don't know about 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But on sort of the topic of like that quick transition time, it's the only analogy I've got. But when I was taking my driving test, I was late. And I was rushing around, and I had to get to the driving test centre. My dad ran in to sort of get the examiner and things, and immediately I went in, gave him the details, got in the car and went. I didn't sit in the car park for 10 minutes worrying about it, being anxious or anything like that. It was boom, straight in it, no time to overthink, no time for that anxiety to take over. You were thrown straight into the deep end and had to perform, and I ended up passing. So, you know, it helps. And I think if I had time to sort of think about it, I might not have done. So you have to be straight on it, not overthink it whatsoever, and that is going to be something that Jamie Nuttall is going to be thinking about heading into turn one. Vyacheslav Volodya from Yannis Wenzel, Bobby Moss, the top four from James O'Reilly. Kieran Sharp will join him on row 3 ahead of Josh Millington, Hayden Miller ahead of David Santamaria, and Frank Porter-Ruiz, a top 10 reverse, of course, for race 2. Let's see what the Andorrans can do on their fight to the front. Matt Acton just missing out in P11. He's ahead of Simon Norton. Thomas Martin from Guillaume Hamlin, Grant Miller, Will Ellis, and Christian Camprega going there in P17. So, what do we expect from race 2? Redemption potentially for Jamie Nuttall.
Yeah, he's got to. He needs to. There's without a shadow of a doubt. But lights are on.
Here we go, 25 minutes then. Race 2 of round 5 of the TSRC F4 Sprint Championship. Jamie Nuttall on pole position. We go lights out once more here at Oran Park. A good start then from pole position as Vyacheslav Volodya just has to tuck in. They're 2 wide, 2 deep as well as Kieran Sharp, Wenzel and Moss all battle over that final place on the podium. Into turn number 2 for the first time, of course, heavy on the brakes as goodness me. It's all gone wrong for Yannis Wenzel. He's off the road. I think he might well have just been able to recover it as he points himself back on to this. Oh no, he hasn't actually. He's down in 16th place. Goodness me, that is a disastrous start for him. As there we follow Josh Millington around the outside of James O'Reilly. That's the fight for 5th place as they head their way onto the bridge for the first time. Jamie Nuttall able to hang on to pole.
Yeah, Nuttall got away. He was slow in the first phase though, but he was quick in the second. He did clear and managed to stay in front of Volodya, but at one point it was quite touch and go. Porter-Ruiz and Hayden Miller separate, Miller separates Santa Maria there, and we can have a look and see what happened to Janos Wenzel as he's on the outside, to be honest, onto the you saw onto the gravel, rear right on the gravel. Game over. See you later. Take care. Out. Have a good one.
Pretty much. It is all you can say. Is not fun times by any stretch of the imagination. Volodya now then leads from Moss and Sharp in P3, who's under pressure actually from Josh Millington. This is going to be flashbacks from race 1. He's going to go to the outside of turn 1 into turn number 2, and goodness me, so close to contact. A big old switch from Kieran Sharp, who's pushing so hard as to not lose third place. He might well lose 4th in one foul swoop. James O'Reilly this time looks to the outside, but opens the door for the championship leader potentially through the right-hander. No way through for the Andorran of Porter-Ruiz as down the inside once again. Kieran Sharp is really under fire.
Yeah, he's under pressure there as well. I've got a funny feeling, and I know we said that almost looked like contact, but it looked like there was contact with Bobby Moss on that one. I've got a funny feeling there was Bobby Moss. We've lost Nuttall. Oh, we have lost Nuttall as well from the lead.
Yeah, I think it was, did pick up on the fact that Volodya was now leading. Didn't quite catch as to what happened to Jamie Nuttall, but that's how easy it happens. The car bottomed out. How stiff this pushrod suspension is on these F4 cars. There's nothing that you can do. There's no shock absorber, no spring to absorb it. It's just all or nothing. And that's unfortunately put his race winning charge to an end.
Oh, he hit the curb.
Just got to go. And how sensitive these are. Fairly sizable whack to the barrier.
Yeah, it was unfortunately for Nuttall on that one. That's a kick in the teeth there. Kieran Sharp is into the pit lane. But Kieran Sharp is into the pits. James O'Reilly has jumped to the pit lane, so I'm not quite sure if this was Riley's incident. That's going to be the grass on the outside. Yep. Brake. Nope. Ouch. Unfortunately for O'Reilly. So a lot of people making what can be perceived as simple mistakes here, but I still got Volodya up front, Bobby Moss, and then Josh Millington. 1.5 seconds to Porter-Ruiz, Santa Maria, and Hayden Miller there as well. Sharp is in and he's back out, but he's a long way back from anybody significant. It's about 20 seconds to this gentleman, Simon Norton, who has no rear wings, so he's turned that car into a little bit of a Formula Ford there without the rear wing on it. Clearly, is he going to go? He's got to go into the pits, right? He is going into the pits. Bobby Moss, Josh Millington still scrubbing it out. So let's see how these guys continue to get on this one, with Millington chasing down Moss currently. As Millington trying to clear that red 5. Bobby Moss, Nigel Mansell fan club. Let's be real, Oh, he's made a mistake. That's going to free up Millington there. Millington has gone through. Job done for Josh Millington through the dog leg. Bobby Moss not helping himself, and unfortunately going off the side of the circuit. And now Bobby has put himself behind Santa Maria, has put himself behind Porte Ruiz as well. We can have a look back and see what happened to Bobby on that one. Oh, side spins it. Porte Ruiz and Santa Maria go through. Bobby Moss with one of them half awkward slides there and just taking up and now losing positions down in 6th place, -2 on the day. Team ACA Sports Andorra, says Benja SA in YouTube chat as well. That's Porto Ruiz and Santa Maria. They're chasing down Millington, but they've got a second gap to do it here as he's closing in onto Bologna. The last thing they want to do, Zach, is literally fight with each other, because I can tell you one thing, Porto Ruiz is coming thick and fast.
Very much is, and that's the question, of course, for Millington. Does he work with Bologna to try and delay the inevitable, or does he get ahead to try and build as much of an advantage as he can, because he knows the inevitable is going to happen? Porto Ruiz is going to catch, is going to put some pressure on. I don't think he wants to be sandwiched between the pair of them and lose out. He wants to get ahead and have that car in between himself and the championship leader, just to have somewhat of a chance of winning this race. He pulls out to the left-hand side going into turn number 1. Josh Millington goes for the lead, but Bologna is going to try and hang on to the outside, but not quite enough going into turn 2. Millington takes the lead.
Yeah, Josh gets through. He needs to now. He needs to get on his bike a little bit here, because he doesn't want to be dragged into this Porto Ruiz Santa Maria Miller battle. He needs to make sure he can clear this away, and Santa Maria is not getting near as much to Porto Ruiz as Miller is getting closer to him. So Hayden Miller is closing in, but they've got to try. I know we say working together, but they've got to try and do that, because otherwise it could just all go wrong. And then when you bring Porto Ruiz into it, you can guarantee he's going to try and get through as quickly as he can.
And now he's just got to get away, build that gap, and hope that Bologna puts up a stellar defence ahead of Porto Ruiz. Good thing is that it's fairly difficult to overtake around Oran Park. Bad thing is that Porto Ruiz is on a sensational run of form, has yet to finish outside of the top 5 on any rounds that have counted, and even then his drop score is a 4th and a 7th place, which was the first round, of course, back in Snetterton. Since then he's been either on the podium, winning, or inside the top 5. Great stuff from Porto Ruiz. However, Millington, he might well be able to hang on. The problem will come, though, I think, is when these fuel tanks run dry and they've got to come into the pit lane. Porto Ruiz might try something different to get some clear air. Yeah, maybe. He's got to either look at the under or try and hang on for a little bit longer and see if he can come through. What he doesn't really want... Oh, Bologna not doing yourself any favours. Nope, and that's should free Porto Ruiz to go down the outside. It has done. What about Santa Maria? Is there going to be some form of slowdown involved in that? You're going to make contact, and Santa Maria goes up the inside. So both of these guys moving up one, and now poor old Josh Millington, he's like the deer in headlights with the lions closing in on him here. And Santa Maria and Ruiz try and close in. Close in they will, I'm sure, that when it comes to, of course, Porto Ruiz and his charge for the win. Santa Maria as well with him. Those two great teammates and great sort of camaraderie shown. Bologna under pressure from Miller as well. Is, oh my goodness me, no way has he oh no, it's not, it's a back marker, it's fine. I thought that was Josh Millington going wide for a second. I thought he'd just completely thrown it. In fact, it is one of the back markers. I think Simon Norton is the most recent to be lapped. Still 1.3 seconds ahead of Porto Ruiz, and this is good timing, I think, for Millington, just to say, to build that gap, as we said, because Porto Ruiz catches lap traffic through the sweeping section. There's not much he can do, and he's going to be put on the back foot. So this allows Millington a golden opportunity just to have momentary breathing room from the Andorra.
Yeah, anything he can get, he needs to take, right? He's got to capitalise on what is going on behind him. If Ruiz has just got held up by the back marker a little bit, Santa Maria, he can hope that Santa Maria puts him under pressure. Whether or not he will or not, different story. Volodya's behind. He's got Miller closing in. He's hoping that that back marker will remove himself as quickly as possible. And that is Norton in front of these guys in that 79 machine. But it's hard because Norton hasn't got a lot of option to try and move here. He's trying to, he wants to try and stay stay out of the way, but he wants to try and not, I would say, jeopardise his own race, but he's a lap down and towards the back end, so, you know, is there much jeopardisation there? I'm not really sure. But at the same time, when they're going too wide, where are they expecting Norton to go on a very tight track?
He can't, as all that's getting close. Vlodger is through, well, no, Miller was through. Vlodger fights his way back nicely, does the Estonian, very good driving from him. That's wide from Norton anyway, so it's going to be an easy pass for these two, despite the fact they were battling. They're not going to find too hard at the time of lapping their way through. Will Ellis, by the way, is through on Simon Norton in that fight for 13th, so even though they are back markers, they are fighting for their own respective positions. And now, as we start another lap, ticking already towards 10 minutes complete in this race, Vlodger under pressure.
Yeah, Vlodger's trying to go on a defence now through from Miller as they're going down into the sweeper before they go into that Coca-Cola corner. And you can see Santa Maria still there. Ruiz still pushing him as much as he possibly can. And Josh Millington still coming under fire. So, no, that nearly cost him. He can't be doing that every lap.
Can't be doing it any lap, really. I think he just got a lucky escape with this one, as was able to hang on to it. That was, well, could have been disastrous, and again a small mistake there. The car just getting a little bit under him, and had to hang on to it. There's now that gap between himself and Walter Ruiz closes to about a second. Santa Maria, of course, in hot pursuit with him. Over half the race still to go. It's going to be difficult for him to hang on.
Yeah, it will be, but he can't be doing what he did, right? He's got to do quali laps every single time without a shadow of doubt. There has to be quali. Trouble is, look at the times. Ruiz just pulled out nearly 7 tenths, give or take 6.5 tenths on him on that last lap alone. So as much as we would have hoped that Millington could survive, I suppose in hindsight, you're looking back, if he loses 6 tenths again, it's not going to be long.
Not. He's going to be reeled in bit by bit, nibbled away by Puerto Ruiz, who, because he's got over half the race left to go, has time. He knows he's got the pace. He doesn't need to rush this. He's already on the back of a win. He's already extending his championship lead. If he lets Millington win one race, it's not going to be disastrous to him. He can be a back foot. He can just slowly but surely put the pressure on, or even just do it in the pit lane. Come on earlier, do it a lap later, and get it done without even having to do any of the heavy lifting.
Yeah. You've got to make sense of what you've got in front of you. Whenever you look at pit strategies and stuff like that, you've got to make sense of what you've got. Puerto Ruiz can see he's got Millington in front of him, and he's just pulled out nearly half a second again. So for him, he might want to push and get past the guy in front and make sure he's in the lead going into the pits. Santa Maria, on the other hand, has got the option to say, right, well, these guys could end up scrapping here. I might as well dive in now, lose as less time as possible, and maybe, just maybe, if they keep fighting, I might be able to come out in front. So there's a little bit of a mental game that they're playing at the moment.
Yeah, there is. There's always mental games going on between the drivers, psychological warfare, as it is just as prevalent as actually going for a move, because this psychological warfare can help your actual physical moves. You can put your opponent under pressure, you can make them second guess themselves, you can maybe lead them into a false sense of security through one corner and then strike at that very same one the next lap. Those sorts of things are at play, and that's exactly what Puerto Ruiz is going to be calling upon both his real life and his sim racing experience in order to beat Millington. However, this is an opportunity for Millington to win a race. No offense to him, but he's got a lot less to lose than Puerto Ruiz has, which means he can be so much more aggressive.
Yeah, he can. Whoa, Santa Maria's just gone and exit staged right on the background there. You've just seen him go shooting off. And what's the odds, Zach? Grass on the right-hand side for the rear wheels. There you go.
Yep, and off he goes. Too much speed going in. And then...
Yeah, he couldn't stop it. If we have a look from the chopper, you'll see his right side go on the grass. There you go. And, well, you're not stopping it. No, you haven't got long enough coming around that corner to try anything different. He's just had to let it run out. So for Santa Maria now, where would you be heading? Mine would be in that pit box.
Oh, cut your losses, 100%. Cut your losses, come in, shake it off, go for a good stint. If you've messed up on one lap, that's usually when I call it and just say, yeah, stint's over, I'll come in, I'll sort it out later. If you continue going, then it's just have all of the penalty on the same lap. Of course, he did the right thing, I think, in the mistake, which was not to panic, it's so easy once the car's shaken to you just think, oh my goodness, no, slam on the brakes, all four wheels lock, and you just continue to go straight and straight and straight. He didn't do that. He let off. He tried to sort of just flick the car back on and kept it out of the barrier. Very, very good stuff from Santa Maria. Of course, has put him off the back of the top two and back into the limelight of 4 and 5 of Volodya and Miller. That doesn't necessarily mean this race is over. Still, at 10.5 minutes to go in it. Still got pit stops to contend with. And Millington is still driving a fantastic race out in front. Now, is this a can't or is it a won't from Porter Ruiz?
Mate, to be honest, I don't really know the answer to that question. I can't work out whether or not he's playing or he's not. But either way, he's got to look soon, right? He's only coming up to the last 10. So he either thinks, okay, do I do it? Do I not? Do I make the overtake? Do I go into the pits? Do I not? It's all going to be very interesting. We've got Hayden Miller literally side by side with Volodya in the background. They're just coming through the left-hand sweeper now, down into the Coca-Cola corner. Miller's going to have the inside. We did say Miller's been close for the last couple of laps, and he's just got the job done.
Yep, as easy as you'd like it. Volodya didn't put up too much of a battle. Miller, of course, can see Santa Maria ahead, 1.3, and might be able to sniff a podium. Potentially is on the cards if he's able to nail the strategy. It's all about, I suppose, I mean, everyone gets sort of the same amount of fuel. They're all on a fixed setups, so you know, they can't change anything. They can't adjust their fuel loads or anything like that. So I suppose it does come down to using the least amount of fuel or going the longest in the race, so by the time you do come to pit, you minimise the amount of time you spend stationary, which means you can maximise the amount of time you're going quick out of circuit.
Yeah, you've got to look at the situation. These guys are oh! How did Millington get there? It's coming through Recaro. There's going to be contact. Oh! What? Did Porty Ruiz just kind of push him in there?
I mean, see, if these cars had indicators, happy days. But because that's the racing line, off the exit of the final corner going into pit lane, I don't think Porter Ruiz was expecting Millington to just slow down.
But they would have said on the radio, right?
Are they meant to?
Well,
are they allowed to?
I would have hoped so. Right?
I mean, yeah, but clearly not. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been contact. I mean, it's difficult, and Oran Park is a hazard for it because, again, you come off that final corner, you try and extend the track as much as you can, and there's the pit lane, and because the pit limit line is so close, you almost immediately have to slow down. It's a shame for Millington, but I don't really think there's much he could have done. Maybe it's on for Porter Ruiz because he was the car behind, he should have read the body language, but then again, you can empathise with him because, again, why would he know any better?
I don't know. There's a weird one because also it looked like there might have been a little bit of internet action taking place in there. So just how violently kind of Ruiz shot into the back of him, unless Millington did invertedly hit his brakes, I'm not really seeing.
Yeah, only they'll know. Oh, that's wide. I think it might be a back marker, just allowing them through. Of course, Sharp and Miller. Again, only they will know, right? What was going through their heads, who was really at fault. I'm sure the stewards, of course, will take a look at it. Only thing that is for sure is it's a huge shame for Millington because he had a genuine chance to win this race.
Yeah, he did. Did Millington slow down, says Handsome Shoe? We're not... I really don't know. Let's have a look, see if we can get in the cockpit. Oh, no, he's already gone at that point. Let's see if we can get in the cockpit at the moment of the impact and see what his revs were doing. You can see him coming through free now into that final corner. Well, he's lifting and coasting to go in, but he's not braking to slow down.
I think that was pure engine braking. I don't think you brake until after the first bit of the chicane. Like you turn right and then brake. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe but again, how are you supposed to know any different from behind? There is no telling signs of body language. There is no like pit join line like there is at the Red Bull Ring where you have to stay to the right to go into the pit lane. I mean, for Porto Ruiz, especially with how close they're running, they're fighting for a race lead at the end of the day as well, right? Like, he's not going to be wanting to lift off just in case he comes into the pit lane. Maybe in hindsight, he should have, sure. But as racing driver, you're not going to give anything on the off chance they come into the pit lane. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to make it clearer, but it's not like they can stick their hand out the halo and say, I'm going in the pit lane this lap. Yeah. What could be done?
Well, nothing. The only thing he could have done is put the pitting in button. That would have been the maximum he probably could have fulfilled on that one. Hayden Miller here has got Kieran Sharp and Matt Acton. Acton finding himself he was finding himself in 5th, and unfortunately that happened. So Kieran Sharp and Hayden Miller going into the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, so probably about 4-ish laps, I reckon. 3 at the line. Well, we'll find out, I suppose. Maybe, yeah, I reckon 3 at the line. It'll be about 20. Yeah, well, we'll see. I suppose I don't want to say anything with complete certainty because we know what I'm like when it comes to saying things with certainty and then them firmly being wrong. So Kieran Sharp consistently inside the top 5. Unfortunately, that's not enough when the championship leader is consistently in the race lead.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know what to do. They can't put ballast in him because they'll put ballast on everybody. They can't, well, I don't know, come up with some magical way of giving him a quali ban. I'm not really sure. Porto Ruiz is just too quick. He's just dominating. And going into the final round, I expect him to be dominating again.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him at all. The Hockenheim Ring as well. Fairly textbook circuit, one they should all be familiar with. Probably one maybe he's driven in real life as well, don't know as such. But it's a fantastic circuit and one that really lends itself well to these F4 cars. I remember, I think it was about a year and a half ago, maybe when the F4s first came out, there was an official race at Hockenheim, and oh my goodness me, there was barely ever a combination better. F4s at the Hockenheim Ring. It is sensational stuff, and it's going to be a track car combination that Porto Ruiz takes to like glue. They're going to be peas in a pod, and I honestly would go into that expecting a double victory.
It's hard to see past him, isn't it? It really is hard to see past him at the moment. I think his real life IRL experience is showing here, and that's the thing. It's really showing through how important that experience that he's got is portraying over into the race, and he's just being dominated. 5.9 seconds from Santa Maria, who's trying to hang on to Volodya, but Miller and Sharp have a right little ding-dong on the way down the shell.
Getting very, very close for comfort as well. I think Sharp is just going to be able to hang on to the outside. That was nicely done. Miller is giving it a good go, though, with just 2.5 minutes left to go in this race. Sharp has to be careful because it was so easy for Millington to launch that last lap challenge on in race 1. Miller might be able to replicate that. Yeah.
Hopefully he will, because, you know, he took that 3rd place, didn't he? I think Sharp ended up down in 5th. So Hayden Miller knows he can get the pace of Sharp. This is the thing. And he hasn't got long to go. He's going to get maybe 2 laps, possibly 3. And he's gone up the inside into Recaro. Hayden Miller opened it up. Oh, he didn't. He pulled it tight. That should give Sharp the opportunity to take the position back. And he has done. Here, Miller just... Oh, he's alongside. Is he going to be able to get him down? He's going to have the inside into sweeper. He can just open it up a little bit, make it a little bit more difficult. He does get the job done, and that was the way through. But he did definitely tighten up that final corner.
Yeah, just to maximise his run to of course find his way through. That was nicely done from Miller. Textbook stuff into 5th place. Say we've got one more lap at the line. I think Porter Ruiz is far enough along that it is going to be the final lap next time by. But again, does depend, of course. We'll follow him through and keep you updated as to obviously when he does cross the checker flag, because we won't want to miss that. That is the cardinal sin of sim racing, is to miss the leader, come across the line, and that scares me every time it says he comes into the pit lane. I suppose that proves the point even more when it comes to the pit lane here at Oran Park. The racing line quite literally triggers the sensor to tell you to go into pit lane. So, of course, dwelling on that Millington incident a little bit. But anyway, we're on to the final lap of the race. Porter Ruiz leads by 6 seconds, once again ahead of his teammate Santa Maria. These two have been class of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. They've just dominated, haven't they, from start to finish? That's the thing. And there's just nothing anybody else has been able to do about it. So, you know, you're battling for third, fourth and fifth at the moment, and Volodya's holding third. Moss has got fourth, and Miller and Sharp are still battling for that fifth place that Sharp probably could do with a little bit more than Miller.
So when it comes to the championship, he's going to want every point that he can get. He was already 15 behind coming into this race. He's going to be a further, I reckon it's going to be closer to 30 by the time we get to the Hockenheim ring, with how good Porter Ruiz has been with the checker flag out, of course. So that's going to be very, very close for these two to battle it. So let's see what Sharp can do. But across the line, Porter Ruiz, of course, takes victory here today at Oran Park, making it a double whammy and a double 1-2 for Andorra ahead of Volodya, who completes the podium. There is our race winner, Bobby Moss, 4th place. What a guy!
Yeah, Moss did well, didn't he?
Not bad going. I mean, P7 in race 1, P4 in race 2. Quiet points, that's all he needed. Great stuff. Kieran Sharp was unable. Oh, goodness me. That's, oh, nice! Bobby Moss popping out. You saw that too, right? Surely. That was awesome from Bobby Moss. But anyway, we'll run you through, of course, the full extent of the finishing order when everyone has made their way through. Shame for Nuttall, of course, to drop it so early on. Shame too for Millington to have had it dropped on him going into the pit lane. Well, Porter Ruiz was the one that rode the storm all the way to the end. And of course, we'll be able to run you through the full finishing order in just a second before we move our way into the interviews after the race to get some insight as to what the drivers thought. Frank Porter Ruiz, David Santa Maria, exactly as they were after race 1, P1 and P2 for the Andorran couple. Vyacheslav Volodya completes the podium from Bobby Moss. What a sensational race that was for him. Hayden Miller, who we'll chat to in just a second, ahead of Kieran Sharp. Matt Acton in 7th place, so making up for P11 in race 1 with a P7 in race 2. Gim Howling, Thomas Martin and Jamie Nuttall are top 10 despite his wheel being completely off the car at some point in that race. Ahead of Janis Wenzel, Simon Norton from Will Ellis. Josh Millington, what could have been for the TSRC driver. Grant Miller from James O'Reilly and Christian Camprega completes the 17 car field. I suppose, James, we'll start with you when it comes to the interviews. I don't know, as good as anyone. What were your thoughts of those two races? Because they were a couple of bangers, considering that we didn't actually see much overtaking.
Yeah, that's the thing. We didn't see masses, but what we seen was effective, and that's that was the thing. We saw effective overtaking when it needed to be done. Porter Ruiz chasing down Millington, then the contact. We're not sure what that was. I would have presumed there would have been something Millington might have said. I'm not sure. We don't really know until the stewards go through it. But I think overall, considering how difficult this circuit is, they actually did really well. So, yeah, fair play to them. It was really good. And hopefully going into next week should be even more better.
Hopefully so. Well, we'll drag in the first of our interviews. We've got Hayden Miller with us in the commentary booth. First of all, Hayden, I mean, fantastic result there in race 2, tipping Kieran Sharp to the top 5. I mean, I suppose just give us your thoughts here at Oran Park. A difficult combination being in the F4 cars.
It's difficult when, especially turn 1 to turn 2. If you lock up your brakes so much, you'll try to lift off, but if you lift off ever so much, you'll just go straight into the gravel and ruin your lap time and potentially position. But it's a very tricky track. Took me a while to get used to it, but I've had track race experience here in the MX5, so just started off with those braking points that I memorized, and just took it from there.
Is there anything else that sort of crosses over between the MX5 to the F4? Because, I mean, fundamentally they are vastly different cars. What can you use from the MX-5 that also works really well in the F4s?
It's a bit going over the bumps. For me, it feels the same. It's a bit twitchy on the rear, but if you carry too much speed, they both understeer like any other car. But in terms of the braking, you need to be really gentle in that, otherwise you'll just overshoot in the MX-5, especially here, bumpy circuit. So, but the downforce helped a lot coming around these corners. It's still through some of these corners. It loved to try spin you, obviously, as I got caught out on that through a corner. But yeah, that's just the nature of the circuit, and it's a bit tricky.
Of course, we head in a week's time to the Hockenheimring for the final round of the season. Talk to us a little bit about that then, heading into a circuit that is a lot different to Oran Park. What are your expectations going into the final round?
Well, it's gonna be fun. Obviously, it's a main Grand Prix track for other Formula cars, so it's made for this type of racing. But I I it's a tricky track. I raced in the F4 Open Series out there in one of the officials, and it's tricky. I think with the outer layout, skipping for me personally one of the trickiest um, parts of the track where the car is really unstable. I think that's going to help for all the beginners, but it's also got its downside of the extra speed you're going to be carrying into the stadium section. So that's going to be a real challenge.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth. Before we let it go, are there any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, to my dad. Obviously he's running at the back right now, trying to find his best, trying to get the pace, but for he's just spent a load of money on new equipment, so I've got everything new apart from the pedals, which is it's really bumped up my pace and confidence to go around these corners, battling with people like Kieran and Jamie. Frank's a wee bit too fast, but yeah, it's given me a lot more confidence.
You're not the only one that thinks Frank's a bit too fast. Don't worry. Everyone's in that boat. Thank you very much for joining us, Hayden. Of course, best of luck, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome stuff. That was Hayden Miller, of course, a sensational run of form today, P5 in race 2. Speaking of
Porque no, yo
Frank
no
Gautier
quería,
Ruiz,
casi me
we've got him
reviento, cabrón.
right here in the commentary booth with us. Frank, of course, congratulations for another double.
Coño.
Well, actually, no. Is it another double victory? Nonetheless, it's two more victories to add to your roster. How are you feeling when it comes to
Un
the
pelo,
championship? You just seem to be on top form.
un pelo.
Sorry, can you repeat? I was speaking with my teammate.
All good. No worries. Just, I suppose, just tell us how you're feeling about the championship, because, of course, you've just ticked off your fifth win of the season. I mean, going into the Hockenheimring, is it just a case of wrapping up the championship?
Well, with Fuji's mistake getting the 40 seconds penalty that I was going to win that race for sure, I had to win these races because I will not be able to race next week. So I had to take a little gap to try to secure the championship.
And I think you've done a fairly decent job of that. The good news is, I suppose, your drop score from Snetterton is a 4th and a 7th place. So, I mean, do you feel confident that your drop score is enough to sort of at least give you a fighting chance in the championship?
Well, it was not a really good race, that one in Snetterton, but I think it's enough, or I hope that it's enough to maintain the championship lead. So yes, I hope that with all the races after that I did, without exiting the top 5 and podiums and victories, I think that it's enough to maintain the championship, but we'll see.
And talk to us a little bit about that incident with Millington going into the pit lane. Was it just a misunderstanding of where it is? I know it's a very awkward pit lane.
It was actually fun because I didn't thought that he was going to pit that lap, and I mean, how am I supposed to know that he was going into the pits? I was just taking the aspiration. How do we say the
The racing line?
No. I was like behind him for taking the the aerodynamic being behind him.
Slipstream.
Yeah, the slipstream. Sorry, I I was behind him to take slipstream and trying to make a good overtake in T1, T2. And right after, he just bricked for entering the pits, and I smashed him. It was quite fun.
I'm sure he probably will disagree with you, but nonetheless, you went on to go and win the race, so no harm for you. I suppose the question on everyone's minds is, what makes you so fast?
I don't know, like just consistency, training, trying to work each time I'm on the sim, because you can do lots of laps, but if you're not working well or efficient, it's not enough to just grow your lap times. So I think that the thing that's making me fast, I can even be faster. There's people way faster than me, and I'm trying to be better for catching them. But I think that that's just the way of training on your on your driving skills. Like, be really focused on your way of braking for being the most efficient possible, for being the fastest as possible. So yeah, lots of training, being consistent, and that's it. Just
Fair enough. I mean, as simple as that, and a true championship mentality as well, to showcase that even as quick as you are, you're not happy with it. You're not settled. You still want to chase more and more pace. Frank, thank you very much for joining us. Before we let it go, are there any shout outs you want to give?
well, I just want to say thanks to the whole to you guys for the broadcast. That it's amazing. To the whole people who's racing in here, that it's been really fun to race with them. And nothing, just have fun in next race, and thank you everyone.
So thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you back in the future. Of course, it's been a fantastic season for you, and hopefully there is a very bright future for you. Best of luck in the real life endeavors you've got going on as well.
Thank you so much.
Awesome stuff. Frank Porte Ruiz, then, of course, a double victor here today. And, the scary thing is, James, he's not happy with how quick he is.
No, I think that's the thing. When you're a racing driver in IRL and you're getting beaten, you know you need to get quicker. And if there are people in iRacing that are faster than Porter Ruiz, he knows he needs to get quicker. You know, he's sitting on a 3.8 IR, which, as we know, is one of the ways of kind of signifying how many times you've won, right? Because if you lose, your IR goes down. So it's not up there with the 6-7K. So maybe he does need to get quicker to challenge for the top of that kind of racing. But is he too quick for the guys that we've got here?
Maybe so. And of course, you do need to be around people that are quicker than you, because it gives you something to aim for. When you're already the quickest of the bunch, it's harder to go quicker because, I don't know, you get complacent and things don't seem as big of a challenge. If you've got someone that is quicker than you, you can see the differences. You can see what they're doing different. You can see the lines they're taking, how they're braking, the telemetry, and you just push yourself to go quicker. So naturally, you are going to go quicker. So maybe there is that challenge for Frank Porte Ruiz to aspire for more. I know the British F4 Esports Championship takes place as well, so maybe that again is an aim for him to conquer both in the real life and in the sim world as well. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that is going to wrap up our coverage for the Sim Racing Collective F4 Sprint Season 2 here at Oran Park. But fear not, in a week's time, we'll be heading back, of course, to Germany for the second time this season after we went to Oschersleben a little bit earlier on in the championship. And we'll be back for round 6, the final round of the championship decider, where the championship leader isn't even turning up. That is going to be one to remember. My name has been Zach Sweeney. I've had James Parfitt alongside me in the commentary booth. We thank you all for watching. It's goodbye for now, but tune in next week.
Cool.